and I smudged it. Once the paint is down, that's kind of it. So today I'm going to be discussing what painting medium you should start with for new painters. We're going to talk about what the mediums are, and what's the difference between them and what I recommend. All right, so my channel helps beginner painters make the art they want to make in their mind, but they don't know how. I share painting tips and techniques I've learned over the years, tools that I've used, and I also share tips on starting an online art business as well as traveling as an artist. So the painting mediums. First tip, you can start with what you're most drawn to, because you have to think differently for each of them. But I'm going to go through the 4 that I'm going to be talking about, which are watercolor, acrylic, gouache, and oil painting. And I'm going to go through the pros and cons of each one so you can decide for yourself what you want to do. And I'll tell you what I did. Oh, okay. So watercolor. So I actually have some examples of these things. So I got watercolor. I do a lot of watercolors. So this is a watercolor painting that I made of the harbor downtown. This is another one downtown. Didn't finish this one. I meant to finish it, but I just didn't. But yeah, watercolor is basically, watercolor is basically, it's very simple to set up. You just need watercolor paper, your brushes, and your watercolor paint is very easily portable. Like I have this sketchbook here. This is watercolor paper in here. And I just take it to go and have a little bit of water, and I can set up, I can set up anywhere. Just checking my mic. Cons of watercolor. Well, actually, I'm remembering something else. One, watercolors, it's kind of hard to get darker colors. You have to layer a lot to get like those deeper, richer colors. And it's not very forgiving. Like what I mean by that, it's like once the paint is down, that's kind of it. You know what I mean? Some of the darker colors, like the reds and blues, like they stain the paper. If you want to cover that up, there's ways that you can do that, but like just with the basics, it's not the type of art medium where you can go back and change something big. So that's a con for a watercolor. Gouache. Now, I don't have any examples right in front of me because I honestly don't really like it. It's not my favorite. It's another water-soluble medium, and the difference between this and watercolor is that it is more opaque. So you can get the deeper colors, the opacity, and you can also thin it out to get the transparency of watercolor. So if you like that, you can try gouache. It's also another one that's easy to, it's easy to make changes. Like if there's something that you don't like, you can add white gouache paint on top and change the color, or depending on the color, you can go straight in with the new color because of that opacity. Con, it is, again, like the watercolor, it's kind of hard to maneuver once it is dry. I also don't like gouache can be a little like kind of like a matte dry look about them. Watercolor is dry too, but like something about it is like a little bit ashy, and like I don't know, maybe perhaps it's the gouache set that I have, I don't know, but I didn't really like the look of it, you know what I mean? All right, so acrylic. I have an example here. So acrylic is it's also another water soluble medium. And it's opaque. So it's sort of like, it's kind of like oil painting, which has that rich opacity and the color and layering, but with like very, very fast drying time. It's easy to edit. You know, you can thin the acrylic down with water, but that makes things dry really fast. And like for me, acrylic, the drying time is like a con. It's a con for me. So for this painting, this was not possible without using this product. So this is a slow drying medium. This, you need to have this in order to do stuff like this. It's just like acrylic, it dries so fast that it's kind of like not really possible to use without something like this, unless you're making like it depends on the kind of art you're making, you know what I mean? But it's very, like, you have to work kind of fast with it. So that's a con. But once you get the extra stuff, the extra, I forgot, not, these aren't solvents, these are additives? I don't know what you would call this, but mediums, I guess. This is what they call it, mediums. They make it so that it's very like bearable. Oh gosh, there's a car alarm going off. I hope you can't hear that. Okay, it has stopped. Okay. Next is oil painting. So I have an example of that. Oil painting, very similar to acrylic, but very, very different at the same time. You can edit a lot with oil painting, and that is because it dries very, very slowly. Now, drying very, very slowly can also be a con, okay? It's like it takes a long time. And I'm sorry, I'm just like blanked out. What was I gonna say? Let me look at my notes. Oh yeah, basically it takes a long time and it's kind of expensive, like, to set up. It's not very portable. I mean, there are people who do oil painting outside, but you need an easel. You need, you know, your solvents, like your oil paint thinner and things like that. And it just takes forever. I mean, like this painting right here, goodness. I looked it up and it said something like 12 weeks to dry. I did more than 12 weeks. Like, I went on vacation and everything, like came back and I picked it up and moved it and I smudged it. Okay, I smudged it right there. And I'm like, how could it still be like wet? So that's like a con for me. So if you can't tell already, I, highly recommend watercolor. It's just an easy way to get started. You don't have to. Oh, another thing, acrylic and oil, you have to wear protective clothing, or you have to wear a painting outfit, like, I guess an apron, or if you want to wear something, a jumpsuit or whatever. There's like preparation involved. Like, you need your rags and your all kinds of things. And it's just kind of a lot. Like I feel like watercolor just closes the gap between you wanting to paint and painting, whereas oil painting is like, it's a bigger gap. So yeah, I started with watercolor. I mean, I kind of started with oil painting, if you think about it. Like for school, when I was in college, like I did oil painting as my first like I guess real art class. And it's like a lot involved, but like for like moving forward, like what I would advise to people who just want to get started painting, I would say start with like watercolor. You can even start with gouache, things like that. Oil painting, there's a lot of technical aspects that I feel like you would have to learn in order to get the results that you want. It's not impossible. You can start with oil if that's what you're interested in. But you need the space, you need the supplies, and you need the ventilation. I don't know if I mentioned ventilation, but yeah, I don't think I mentioned that. But oil painting, again, some of the solvents are like toxic, and you need to have proper ventilation. They have non-toxic options. I actually want to go over this in a separate video, but there's just a lot of preparation involved with oil painting. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up, and yeah, so that's basically it. You know, we have watercolor, gouache, acrylic, and oil. Those are the options. You know, feel free to go back and hear the pros and cons so you can decide for yourself what you want to start with. Leave the comments below. I would love to know, like, if you are like kind of beginning with art, what medium did you choose? Okay, so let me know below, and also tell me why. What drew you to it? So yeah, like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you are made aware of my future videos. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.